Hello, Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Risings. Welcome to your June 2022 horoscope. My name is Cailin, and today I'm going to be covering the major transits for the month ahead using tropical astrology and the whole sign system. You can watch this horoscope if you are a Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising. If you're only going to watch one horoscope, I would recommend that you watch your ascendant sign, otherwise known as your rising sign, first and foremost. And that is because it will be the most accurate for you overall. Having said that, the sun sign horoscope will tell you more about your life goals and your career, whereas the moon sign horoscope will pertain more to your property and living circumstances, as well as your family, your relationships, and your emotional health and well-being. So now let's begin. On the 3rd of June, Mercury will station direct at 26 degrees in the sign of Taurus in your 6th house. So Mercury will have been retrograde through your 6th house in Taurus, as well as your 7th house in Gemini. By the time it stations direct, you may have reevaluated your one-on-one relationships, whether these are with clients, a business partner, your friendships, or even your relationship with your significant other. You can reach a compromise within these relationships, or you may have decided to walk away from one of these relationships once and for all. Now, with Mercury having been retrograde through your 7th house, this can see you hearing back from someone who you used to be involved with. So this could be an ex-partner, an ex-spouse, a former business partner, old clients, and even people that you used to be friends with. With Mercury having been retrograde through your 6th house, you may have experienced miscommunications with your boss or with your employees. You may have had to redo work projects, and there could have been some pretty significant delays to meetings and deadlines and just your projects in general. An old work opportunity may have come back around. So this could look like you being contacted for an interview when you had already been told that you were unsuccessful, or perhaps someone that you said no to previously has now come back and asked if you're still interested in an opportunity with them. Now, on the 4th or the 5th of June, depending where you live in the world, Saturn will station retrograde in Aquarius at 25 degrees in your 3rd house. Saturn will be retrograde there for 5 months until the 23rd of October in 2022. Saturn spends about 5 months being retrograde every year, so it's not really a big deal, but I do like to mention when planets station direct and retrograde. So with Saturn retrograde here in your 3rd house, some of you may be finishing off short courses or getting some kind of diploma, qualification, certification, or maybe you're trying to master a new skill. So with Saturn retrograde here, there may be more work required than what you had initially thought, so you may have to put in a lot of extra effort to complete this or to just be successful in receiving this qualification. Some of you may be applying for a license for something, whether this is, for example, like a driver's license. And for some of you, you could just be upskilling in a certain area because Saturn represents mastery over things. Now, on a different level, this can see you having a challenging time or perhaps just going on a steep learning curve with regard to supervising or managing other people. Or maybe you're in some kind of education role and you're preparing course material, or maybe you have to mark exams or tests that other people have done. And this could be a very laborious or perhaps challenging role for you. Now, the 3rd house is connected to small groups, teams, friends, and co-workers. So with Saturn being retrograde here, you may be having to work extra hard to get along with one or more of these individuals. The 3rd house also represents your siblings and relatives and also neighbors. So maybe you are putting in a lot of hard work in one or more of these relationships. Maybe you're trying to rebuild the foundations of one of these relationships. And on a different level, Saturn represents our ability to say no, whether this is to a person, an opportunity. In this instance, I would see this as you saying no to helping other people. And I'm saying that because Saturn rules over your second house, which is Capricorn, and the second house represents finances as well as resources. Now, Saturn represents the concept of time itself, because Saturn is known as Kronos in Greek mythology, who is the god of time. So I could see this as you learning how to say no to just giving all of your time up to co-workers, friends, siblings, neighbors, relatives, or whoever it may be. So this can see you saying no to either helping them or no to lending them your resources, or perhaps you have been helping them financially, and this is you learning how to either restrict how much time or how much of your resources you give away, or perhaps you're saying no altogether. Lastly, with Saturn being retrograde in your third house, this could be representative of a communications piece that you were putting together or some sort of reporting that you were doing. The third house is also connected to YouTube, so doing videos, and Saturn can represent auditing and editing. So maybe you were going through an editing process and maybe you're making some final changes to a communications piece that you have put together, or perhaps you are trying to advance your knowledge on how to write or how to put together a video or how to use certain technology. Now, on the 11th/12th of June, depending where you live in the world, Venus and Uranus will form a conjunction at 16 degrees in the sign of Taurus in your sixth house. And it will also be making an opposition to the moon in Scorpio in your 12th house. So there's somewhat paradoxical energy which is coming through with this conjunction. And I'm saying this because conjunctions indicate starting something new, and Uranus is the planet of separation, shocking events, and divorce. So how this plays out in your life will really depend on how your own personal birth chart is activated. But I'm going to go through a number of different ways that this can play out for you. And some of these descriptions will involve the forming of new relationships, and some of them will involve the severing of ties. So with Venus ruling over your sixth house as well as your 11th house, and with Uranus ruling over your third house, this is definitely hitting on contracts and there being either an unexpected change to a contract that comes through, or perhaps a breaking of a contract. So Uranus rules over your third house, which represents contracts as well, and Venus represents relationships and agreements, whether these are written or verbal. So for some of you who are investment property owners, your tenants may break lease, or there could be a very sudden or unexpected change to the existing agreement. Perhaps, just as an example, they're moving out early, or perhaps you have a date that they are meant to move in. Maybe it's 60 days from now, and they're like, hey, I really, really need to move in, 2 weeks earlier. So that's a different way that can play out. For those of you who are renting a property yourselves, this can see you perhaps needing to make an abrupt change to your lease, or maybe you need to break lease. The reason why I'm placing a lot of focus on property for this conjunction is, well, for two reasons. One is that the 16th degree in astrology is the Cancer degree. So Cancer rules over property matters as well as family. And then this conjunction is actually making an opposition to the moon, like I said, and moon also rules over property matters and living circumstances. So it appears that there will be some sort of and it's 11:11 right now as I'm saying this in Melbourne, Australia. So this is enough. This is like confirmation to me. So I really do think that somehow a contract or agreement which is connected to your living circumstances is indicated, or perhaps this is indicating an arrangement that you have with a family member. So maybe you're in business with a family member, maybe you are in real estate as it is, just by profession. And, some of you may be looking to purchase a property, and this could come up very quickly or unexpectedly. And just on a personal level, I really, really, really hope that this is the case, because my husband is a Sagittarius sun and he actually has 5 planets in Sagittarius. And we've been looking for a property for a really long time. So I'm like, please, please let this be us. Anyway, on a different level, the 6th house is connected to loans. So debts as well. And with Venus ruling over your 11th house, which is Libra, this can represent residual income, dividends, royalties, and, like I said before, if I didn't already, rent money. So this can see there potentially being unexpected fees with a loan that's coming through, or there could be some unexpected changes to your residual income or to passive income. And also the moon rules over your 8th house, which represents taxes and inheritances. So maybe there is some unexpected developments which pertain to a tax return which is coming through, or which you are preparing, or an inheritance as well. Now, on a different level, the 6th house is connected to work, and it is also representative of health in astrology. So this can see you actually quitting an unhealthy habit, whether this is an eating habit or perhaps a spending habit. And I'm saying this because Uranus represents our ability to go cold turkey on something and just cut it out of our lives. Now, Venus rules over food, and of course, it rules over money and finances. So that's where I'm getting this, eating habit topic coming through, as well as spending habits. And also, because Venus rules over your relationships and your partnerships, this can see you actually ending an unhealthy relationship that you have with another person. Now, on one hand, this can be you just completely, calling it quits on this connection. On a different level, maybe you are putting a stop to the unhealthy or toxic aspects which are involved with this relationship. So you don't necessarily need to, cut this person off altogether. But if I had to say, who this person is indicating, to me, this is not about a romantic relationship or connection. With Venus ruling over your 11th house and 6th house, I feel like this would more so be connected to co-workers, friends, and maybe even clients as well. And with Uranus ruling over your 3rd house, maybe this is you putting a stop to some toxic behavior which is occurring within your sibling relationships or relationships with your relatives, such as cousins, aunties, and uncles. Now, on the 15th/16th of June, Mars will form a conjunction with Chiron in Aries at 15 degrees in your 5th house. So this conjunction occurs once every 2 years, and essentially Mars rules over our willpower, our ability to take action. It rules over anger, aggression, and also it is connected to sexuality. Now, Chiron represents our core spiritual wound or emotional wound, and sometimes it can even be a physical wound as well. So when Mars and Chiron form a conjunction, this represents an acute awareness of something in our lives which is painful, or which is no longer serving us, or which we need to change. Now, Chiron can represent the ways in which we are suffering or experiencing pain, but it can also represent how we are either inadvertently or consciously hurting other people. Now, because This conjunction is taking place at 15 degrees, which is the Gemini degree. I see this as being an opportunity for you to have an open discussion or communication with another person. Now, Chiron in astrology is the notion of Chiron is based on Greek mythology. So Chiron was a centaur who was a very gifted healer, teacher, and spiritual advisor. And essentially, one day, Chiron was fatally wounded by an arrow, but because he was not fully mortal, he couldn't die. So he lived in pain and suffering. I won't go into the end of the story, but this is what the premise is based on. So, knowing this, it really shows our ability to heal from something and to derive spiritual enlightenment from our pain or from our suffering. So now let's go into how this is going to impact you as a Sagittarius. This can hit on the romantic front, your sex life, the topic of children, owning your own business, and your hobbies and passions. So, with romance and sex, if you are currently dating someone, there may be a conversation or even an argument which takes place where either you or the other person or both of you are opening up about how you feel that the other person hasn't been listening to you. This could be a conversation about your sexual preferences or their sexual preferences. This could be an argument or a discussion about how they speak to you and how that potentially hurts you, or vice versa. And this could also be connected to, for want of a better term, sexual performance in the bedroom. Okay, so things that have up until now been left unsaid can finally be aired out, and there is a huge potential for healing and also becoming closer to your partner through being vulnerable with them on these topics. Now, for those of you who are not in a relationship currently, this can be more of a soul searching thing where you are understanding what triggers you in a relationship or in your sex life, or where certain issues may be cropping up for you. So it's like you basically getting to the root cause of why you feel the way that you feel, why you're unhappy in why you've been unhappy in previous relationships, and perhaps understanding an ongoing pattern or cycle. So, this presents an opportunity for you to break that pattern or cycle by consciously directing your attention to these matters. Now, for those of you who have children, this can see you working really hard to heal your relationship with one or more of your children. If you have thus far not been in communication with them, maybe you've been estranged from one another, maybe one of you has, been giving the silent treatment to the other person, this can see you finally sitting down and having a very candid conversation with your child. Now, I would caution you against not having an explosive reaction or outburst during this conversation, because just generally speaking, with this conjunction, there is um, a huge area of potential to hurt another person with the words that you are saying. And of course, it goes the other way around as well. So this is about potentially understanding the triggers that you experience, by your interactions with your child. Maybe there is a bit of you that you are seeing in them that you are not consciously aware of. And then this is coming out through projection or rejecting certain parts of them because maybe you haven't reconciled these differences within yourself. Now, for those of you who don't have children, but with this, maybe you want to, or maybe there's fears surrounding children, you can get to the bottom of how you feel about either your desire to have them, to not have them, or if there have been struggles with falling pregnant or starting a family. This can see you actually getting to the root cause of certain issues and having a breakthrough in that department. Lastly, with this transit, and I know it's a heavy one, so just bear with me. For those of you who either own your own business or who are toying with the idea of starting your own business, this can see you actually understanding why you have not seen the growth or expansion that you would have expected or that you want to see. This can actually boil down to a fear of putting yourself out there and really being, authentic and true to yourself. And essentially, Aries represents the ability for us to say, I am this, I am that. These are my interests. This is what my business is about. And there can be a fear in truly putting yourself out there. And this may be the obstacle or the blockage between having seen a certain level of growth and unlocking your full potential. And the same can be said for those of you who are just thinking about starting a business. So there could be some fears which are connected to putting yourself out there, developing a product, listing a service, and maybe it's the fear of rejection. Maybe it's the actual fear of success and expansion. What does it mean for me if my business takes off? How is this going to impact the other areas of my life? And so let's move on to Venus entering Gemini in your seventh house. This is definitely going to be a very exciting and harmonious and blessed time with regard to your personal relationships with other people. So, with the seventh house representing your one on one relationships, your long term committed romantic partnership, business partnership, and marriage partner as well, this can see you enjoying more time with them. Maybe you're making more time for this relationship. Maybe you are cooperating more, getting along better. Maybe this other individual is finally starting to come around to seeing things your way. Maybe they are more amenable to suggestions that you are making, whether this is in your romantic relationship or in a business partnership. For those of you who own your own business or who are in a sales-based role, this can absolutely be a time where you have an influx of clients and do more deals, close more sales. Really, this is a great time for business. Now, this can see you actually forming a new relationship with a friend, a co-worker, or an acquaintance. And I'm saying this because Venus rules over your 11th house, and it also rules over your sixth house. So the 11th house represents your friends, your wider networks, acquaintances, friends of friends, and it also is connected to the online space. And on a different level, the sixth house represents co-workers as well as service people. So maybe you are being introduced to a new coworker. You could actually be hiring more employees. You could strike up a new contract or deal with a service person, so someone that you're hiring to do business, or your services could be hired out. So this can represent a new contract coming through, a new collaboration, or a new business agreement. And just on a different note, this can see you feeling more sociable, catching up with friends more. Maybe you've just got more time to spend with friends or to invest into these relationships. And lastly, this is a time where your significant other or your spouse may become more attractive. You may find them to be more appealing, more beautiful, more magnetic. And they could just be going through a really good time in their life where they're attracting more abundance and great opportunities into their life. Now, I just want to recap on the time period for this. It will be the 22nd or the 23rd of June through till the 17th or the 18th of July. So Venus spends about 3 to 4 weeks in each sign. Now, on the 28th of June, Neptune is going to station retrograde in Pisces at 25 degrees in your fourth house. Like Saturn, Neptune spends about 5 months being retrograde every year, and Neptune will be retrograde until the 4th of December in 2022. So, just generally speaking, Neptune represents our intuitive abilities, psychic abilities. It is connected to donations, generosity, charity. When I say generosity, I mean like, giving of yourself selflessly and altruistically. Now, Neptune, shadow side of it, can represent victimhood, martyrdom, addictions, illnesses, and losses. And also just like confusion, fogginess, not really seeing things clearly or understanding things clearly. So when Neptune is retrograde, this sort of inverts those topics or tropes. So uh, this can see us understanding things more clearly, seeing things more clearly, understanding the ways in which people may have been taking advantage of us. And because Neptune is retrograde in your fourth house, this will be connected to your family, people that you live with, your property, your living circumstances, and also the fourth house is connected to your emotional foundations. So, on one hand, this can be an emotionally intense time for you in that you may be doing a lot of soul searching, digging deep, understanding why you don't feel as happy as you could be, or just understanding some complicated emotions which have been eluding you up until this point in time. And on a different level, this can see you feeling emotionally drained by family members or your flatmates or people that you live with. So, this can see you actually showing generosity to family members. Maybe this is you being there for them emotionally. Maybe you're um, giving them money. Maybe you're allowing them to live with you or to live in one of your properties, whether that is rent free or reduced rent. And you could just have someone come and live with you. It doesn't actually need to be a family member. It could be that someone needs help and they're really struggling, and you're like, hey, come and stay with me. It's okay. Now, this can see you understanding the ways in which certain family members may have been taking advantage of you. Maybe they have been exploitative of your generosity, your uh, like living with you as well. Maybe someone has overstayed their welcome, and this is like a period of time where you are, plucking up the courage to tell them that they have to find another place to stay. On a very physical level, do be careful of water damage in your home or on your property. And again, this would be like 22 to 25 degrees Sagittarians. This can see you finding something that you've lost in your home or in your property. Maybe there was like a time capsule buried in your property and you're digging it up. Or perhaps, there is something that you were just unaware of and you've discovered it in your home. This could be like, you know, photographs or something that's kept under the floorboards in your home, or like a secret passageway or something really cool. And if that's the case, let me know because I'd love to hear about it. And on a different note, some of you may have to sell your property or vacate or relocate, and this could be perceived by you as like a sacrifice that you have to make. And for some of you, this could be temporary as well. This could just be like 5 months, you're not living at home. So lastly, for the month, and I wanted to end on a huge high, Venus in Gemini in your seventh house will make a sextile to Jupiter in Aries in your fifth house at 7 degrees. So Jupiter is your ruling planet. You will definitely feel this. So basically, Jupiter is considered to be the greater benefic in astrology. It represents blessings, wealth, abundance, faith, and optimism. And with Jupiter being in your fifth house as of the 10th of May, until the end of October, and then again from the 20th of December until May 2023. Can I just say, this is a very exciting time for you. This can represent you starting your own business, enjoying your hobbies and passions. Maybe you're starting a family or having more children. This can see you actually meeting someone, dating someone, during those 2, 5, or 6 month periods. But more to the point with this sextile occurring on the 29th of June. This can see you asking someone out, making a relationship exclusive, collaborating with another individual, or receiving help and advice with how to start a business, how to expand your business, how to sell, or how to, create products or list services or make sales. I think I already mentioned that. This could see you receiving help or advice on how to invest in the stock market. Maybe this is to do with your dating life, your sex life, and romance. Someone could actually offer to set you up on a date, or you yourself may join a dating app. Maybe you'll meet someone on a dating app. And also, just with the energy of sextiles, they carry the energy of Venus, and we actually have to agree or take up the opportunity. So, this is like if someone says, "Hey, I can help you with something, give me a call." You have to make that call. If they offer or if the opportunity is put out there on the table and you don't say yes to it or take it up somehow, then it's just going to leave there. And it's sort of like, you know, receiving like a gift voucher for a store and you just don't use this. You actually have to take the card and go and spend the money. So make sure that, if there is an exciting opportunity which crops up around the end of the month, that you are saying yes to it or actively working on, um, capitalizing on it. So, because the fifth house represents children, this can see you being the one to initiate spending time with your children. This can improve that relationship because the seventh house is connected to your seventh born child. Oh my God, your second born child. It could be that the focus is on your relationship with your second born child, but it doesn't have to be. Now, you could be forming a new client relationship, which could either be something which is going to be on an ongoing basis. This could be very beneficial for you. And for some of you, you may not see the results until months down the track or years down the track. And I'm saying this because Venus rules over your 11th house, and the 11th house is connected to money, but it's like your long-term gains. So as you can see, it's a very exciting opportunity which involves you directly because Jupiter is your ruling planet. And on that note, Sagittarius, I hope that you have enjoyed this horoscope. If you have, please give this video a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more content on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to book a private one-on-one reading with me, you can do so via the link in the description box below. Enjoy your month ahead, Sagittarius, and I will see you guys in July.